Hello there, students. Thank you for being part of this presentation. My name is Luis Silva, and today we're looking at world history, the rise of totalitarian dictators in the 1920s and the 1930s. What will we learn today? Today we're going to describe the rise of fascism in Europe and Asia by comparing the policies of Benito Mussolini in Italy, Adolf Hitler in Germany, and Hirohito in Japan. Let's move on. After World War I, many nations were struggling to rebuild. The Treaty of Versailles created bitterness among many nations, especially in Germany. A global depression in the 1930s led to high unemployment and also a sense of desperation in most countries in Europe. In this climate of post-war uncertainty, nationalism increased and citizens turned to totalitarian dictators to rule the nation. The rise of nationalism from 1922 to 1941 basically was happening all over Europe. You see, in Germany, Adolf Hitler offers economic stability to unemployed Germans during the Great Depression and becomes chancellor in 1933. In the Soviet Union, Joseph Stalin grabs control of the Soviet Union in 1924 and basically gets rid of all opposition. In Italy, Benito Mussolini rises to power in 1922 and attempts to restore Italy to its former position as a world power. In Spain, Francisco Franco led the rebel nationalist army to victory in Spain and gained complete control of the country in 1939. And in Japan, Mr. Tojo, the force behind Japanese strategy, becomes Japan Prime Minister in 1941. Emperor Hirohito becomes a powerless figurehead. So this is what was going on in the world between 1922 and 1941. Here you have Joseph Stalin taking basically control of the Soviet Union. He was a communist leader. Here you have both Hitler as well as Mussolini. And here you have Mr. Tojo in Japan. Totalitarian leaders are dictators who control all aspects of the government and the lives of the citizens. Let's read a little bit about the characteristics of totalitarianism. First, there is a state control of individuals, which demand loyalty, denies basic liberties, expects personal sacrifice for the good of the state. Second, methods of enforcement. There is police terror, there is indoctrination, there is censorship. The press cannot do its job. They are limited on what they can publish. And there is persecution. Modern technology. There's mass communication to spread propaganda and advanced military weapons. A state control of society. The state controls business, labor, housing, education, religion, the arts, personal life, as well as youth groups. Now, in terms of dictatorship and one-party rule, basically one party exercises absolute authority and dominates the government. For the most part, totalitarianism has dynamic leaders which unite people, such as in the case of Adolf Hitler, and symbolizes government, encourages popular support through force of will. And the last component of totalitarianism is their ideology, sets goals of the state, glorifies aims of the state, and justifies government actions. This is what a totalitarian government represents. Totalitarian leaders gain support by promising jobs, promoting nationalism, and using propaganda to convince people. Dictators held on to their power by using censorship, secret police, denying liberties, and eliminating opposing rivals or political parties. Among the first totalitarian dictators was Joseph Stalin of the Soviet Union. Stalin was a communist and basically seized all property, farms, factories, in order to control the economy and, according to him, create equality. He used a secret police and the Great Purge to eliminate, to kill his rivals. Stalin's 5-year plans and collective farms improved the Soviet Union's industrial and agricultural output. As you can see here, he basically put a whole bunch of people to work, and in terms of industry, he did make some progress. In terms of agriculture, he also made some progress. But at the same time, those people who opposed anything that he said were killed. Not all totalitarian dictators were communists. In Italy, Germany, and Spain, people turned to an extremely nationalist government called fascism. Fascist governments were controlled by dictators who demanded loyalty from all citizens. Fascists did not offer democracy and used one party to rule the nation. Unlike communists, fascists believed people could keep their property. Mussolini and Hitler believed in fascism, the idea that nations need strong dictators, total authority by one party, but people can keep private property. And here you have some of the characteristics of fascist Italy, Nazi Germany, and the communist Soviet Union. You have all three dictators in front of you. You're more than welcome to pause this video so you can read about the faces of totalitarianism. Stalin was a communist who believed that the government should control all property and business. In Italy, Benito Mussolini formed a fascist party. Mussolini gained popularity by promising to revive the economy, rebuild the military, and expand Italy to create a new Roman Empire. Mussolini named his fascist party after the fasces, a Roman symbol of authority and power, as you can see there from the image to your right. Mussolini created the Black Shirts, a secret police force, to enforce the goal of his fascist party. By 1922, Mussolini was very popular, enough to lead a march on Rome, and forced the Italian king to name him prime minister. Benito Mussolini ended democracy in all opposition parties. Mussolini built up the military to create new jobs. He planned to conquer new territories in Africa for Italy. Now in Germany, the Nazis were a fascist group that wanted to overthrow the disloyal Weimar Republic. Adolf Hitler was an early Nazi recruit and quickly rose to power in the party. Adolf Hitler was very impressed by Mussolini and used many of his ideas to make the Nazi party strong in Germany. The Nazis created their own militia called the Brown Shirts. Hitler planned a march on Munich, but he was arrested and jailed for 9 months. While Hitler was in jail, he was able to write a book known as Mein Kampf, which outlined his plans for Germany. He wrote that the Germans were members of a master race called Aryans, and all non-Aryans were inferior. He declared that Germans needed Lebensraum, or living space, and should conquer Eastern Europe and Russia. He called the Versailles Treaty an outrage and vowed to regain land taken from Germany after the war. When Hitler was released from jail in 1924, he spent years organizing the Nazis into Germany's most powerful political party. In 1933, Adolf Hitler was named Chancellor or Prime Minister of Germany. As Chancellor, Hitler used his power to name himself dictator. He called his government the Third Reich to promote pride as well as nationalism. Hitler put Germans to work by building factories, highways, weapons, and increasing the military. He created the government protection squad called the SS and a secret police called the Gestapo to eliminate rivals and control all aspects of Germany. Here you have images of those organizations that were created in order to gain full control of the country. In 1935, Hitler began a series of anti-Semitic laws called the Nuremburg Laws that deprived German Jews of the rights of citizens, forbade mixed Jewish marriages, and required Jews to wear a yellow star. In 1938, Hitler ordered Kristallnacht, or Night of Broken Glass, a series of attacks on Jewish synagogues as well as their businesses. Now moving on to Japan. After World War I, Japan was the strongest nation in Asia and was ready to conquer new lands to provide resources for Japanese industry. Emperor Hirohito gave full control of the Japanese military to Hideki Tojo, who served as a military dictator. In the 1930s, Japan, Italy, and Germany began aggressively expanding into new territories. These actions caused World War II in 1939. If you can see here, aggression in Africa from 1935 all the way to 1939, you see that Italy was basically very busy trying to conquer lands in Africa. And also, if you see to your right, aggression in Asia, 1931 all the way to 1937, you see that Japan is actually expanding to many areas in the Asian part of the world, including Manchuria and other parts of the Asian world. Italy invaded Ethiopia and also Albania. Japan invaded Manchuria, northern China, invaded Indochina, and the East Indies. So Japan and Italy were very busy around this time period. Now, Germany annexed Austria and Czechoslovakia. You see here what Hitler was starting to do. As these powerful dictators were taking over many lands all over the world, they were paving the way for World War II. Now we have come to the end of this presentation. Please do not forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the next presentation.